Hi, welcome back out to the channel. My name's Kim. I'm a licensed and nationally certified Chinese medical provider and a Taoist practitioner. Today, I want to talk a little bit about metal energy, one of the 5 elements, and what happens when that goes from harmony to havoc. What kind of impact could that have on your well-being? I wanted to talk about this because I started noticing that things started getting really unbalanced again over the last few months at the same time when COVID levels were increasing. And COVID is a very metal disease. So I'm going to talk about 3 things. We're going to talk about metal energy from the 5 element perspective. We're going to talk about metal energy in the environment. So we're going to talk about metal energy from a feng shui perspective. And then, is there something that you can do to help minimize the impact of a metal energy that just feels like pure havoc? I think there is. So, you ready to go on this amazing journey? Then let's get started. Metal energy in 5 element theory. What a huge topic. I'm just going to focus on 3 aspects of it because we don't need to know everything about metal to get the general gist of what's going on. I'm going to focus on the organs because I always want to know what the organs are. I'm going to focus on the energetics. How does the energetics feel in a metal season or a metal element? And then I want to focus on some of the emotions and some of the things that it impacts or that it has a tendency to rule over. Okay, you ready for this? Let's go. 5 element theory. What are the organs related to metal? There's going to be 2 of them. It's going to be the lungs and the large intestine. And the lungs is about taking the outside world in. We breathe air into the lungs so that it can be used throughout the body. And then the large intestine is about letting go of things that we no longer need. You know, sometimes that can be difficult, right? And then let's look at, what does the energetics of metal feel like? So metal, it sits in the west and it's represented by fall. And fall is this time of year when everything that had come to fruition in summer is pulled into the body. It's pulled in to be stored. So in fall is when we harvest the fields and we move them to the granaries. It's about taking what we've created in summer and storing it for use in winter. There's another thing that I think about when I think about the energetics of metal. I think about when I was a kid, before dinner, we'd get kicked outside to go play because we had way too much energy. And so we'd get kicked outside to play until dinner. And then my mom would come out and she would say, "Hey guys, come on in. It's time for dinner." And we would be all played out and we would be willing to go inside, to sit down, to have a meal, to rest, relax, and prepare to go to sleep, where we would revitalize ourselves for the next day. That's the energetics of metal. It's about taking that young, that vibrant energy that we use throughout the day and pulling it back in so that it can rest and rehab itself so that we can start up again on another day. You might want to know also, what kind of emotions, what kind of things does it look over? Metal loves to be rational. Very rational is metal. And so they like numbers. 1 + 1 = 2. That works really well for a metal person. Science works really well. Logic, deductive reasoning, all of that works very well for a metal element. And then if you think about metal, what do we make out of metal? We make coins. So there's this impact on finances from a metal element. So those are three areas that metal impacts in our lives. It's going to impact the lungs, the large intestine. It's going to impact our ability to bring in enough energy so that we can regenerate, so that we can recuperate during our sleep. It also has a certain vibe that it likes. It likes the rational. It likes to look at money. So those are the things that metal can impact. That's what metal looks like when it's happy. I'm going to talk about metal in the environment. Today, we have a disease that's going around that impacts the two organs, the lungs and the large intestine in the body. And that's COVID, right? COVID loves the lungs. It loves to cause damage in the lungs. And how many of us have had an increased shortness of breath from 3 years ago? Like maybe 3 years ago, we had no shortness of breath. And today we notice that we have shortness of breath. How many of us have gone on things like high blood pressure meds in the last few years, or cholesterol meds, or some sort of heart-related issue, or some sort of pulmonary lung issue? This disease loves to impact the lungs and the large intestine. And when it does that, it dysregulates that energy. Well, I hadn't thought anything about it because we have been in a period of just a few months where everything was starting to feel pretty mellow and happy. And I was thinking, oh, yay, all of this crap's finally over. And then in June, yay, whoopee ding, the COVID levels in the wastewater start going up, right? So we start pooping out all this COVID into the environment. And it's not just pooping it out, we're also expelling it as we exhale into the environment. And from June onward, more and more COVID gets dumped into the environment. Now, COVID's a disease. So what it does is it takes something that's in balance and it tries to put it out of balance. And the more and more of this that gets into the environment, the more and more out of balance the environment becomes from a metal perspective. And then you and I walk through this metal environment every day and we don't really think about it. And I can tell you, I wasn't really thinking about it. I was just hearing all these weird things happening. I wasn't thinking about it until I was looking over my feng shui stuff again. And I was like, wow, dysregulated metal in the environment. How does that impact us? Have you noticed when COVID starts increasing that we get more irrational? Every element has a happy side and then an unhappy side. And when it's in harmony, it's in the happy side, which is for metal, it loves to be rational. And when it's in the unhappy side, it's the opposite of rational, which is irrational. And I started noticing in June that things started changing, that some people were becoming more and more irrational. And obviously, we're always saying the other person is irrational. We're never saying it's about us. So here today, I'm saying I noticed other people were irrational, and I'm pretty sure that I have my own level of irrationality going on. But let's not make this about me. Okay, so people become more irrational. And then the other thing is you start noticing weird things happening in finance, in your finances and finances around you. And let me tell you some of the weird things that I started seeing that really made me start rethinking, whoa, what's going on here? I had one person that I know that their credit card information got stolen. So they got a replacement. That got stolen. So they got another replacement. That got stolen. And so they just shut that account down. How about I had a business that had a contract, and for some reason, their salesperson didn't check the expiration date on the contract. The contract had expired, and they continued to make sales and deliver product on an expired contract. It's really hard to collect money on something that's expired. How about the other one? Oh my gosh, I had somebody who their paycheck wasn't deposited in their account. When does that happen? Why is this weirdness happening? I had another person, health insurance. They're paying for their health insurance, and on all the systems that people use to verify insurance, it's showing up as inactive, and it's been showing up as inactive for 2 to 3 months. So this impact of a dysregulated metal element, it impacts weird things in your finances in really strange ways. It's not something really obvious, but it's these little strange things that are going on, and they take a ton of time to fix, right? It's not something that you can easily fix. It's not logical why it's happening. It's completely irrational. And then we're also seeing that stress on personal finances as individuals are feeling the pinch of inflation. They're feeling the pinch of rising prices from corporate America. They're feeling the pinch of money getting reallocated to the upper echelons of corporate America. So there's all these things that all of a sudden they start to have a huge impact, and you start to really notice them. And it causes more stress. And all of a sudden you're under all this stress because you have to do so much more all of a sudden. And you don't understand why you suddenly have to do so much more. Or you don't understand why you just seem so overwhelmed and so busy. But a lot of it is because you're trying to catch up with all these little weird things that are happening in your financials. That is dysregulated metal energy. And I'm hoping that it's starting to mellow out. It seems like the infection rates are going down, because I think when the infection rates start to go down, then we can get into that mellow vibe again where life seemed pretty good. Things were getting under control. The inflation level was getting managed. So I'm hoping that these rates of COVID are going to go down. But let's say that they stay at this level. What can you do to help get through this period of chaos? I've got a couple ideas for you, okay? In this period of chaos, we're talking about this disease that consumes young. And I have another episode out here where I talk about what kind of energetics this disease has. And hopefully up here in the corner, there's a link to it, and you can see that. And I talk about this disease has a very young vibe to it. So it consumes our yang. Really bad timing, because in fall, we're supposed to be pulling yang back into the body. So it's forcing us to do something that we shouldn't be doing. And that means it's consuming more and more of our energy, which means we are getting more and more fatigued, and we're feeling more and more stressed out. Here's some things from a feng shui perspective that I would suggest you might want to try. We want to do things that can help build up our metal energy in our environment. One of the things I'm going to suggest is, whether you're at home, whether you're at work, and especially if you're in your car, that you bring something that represents earth into that environment. And if you're not sure what can represent earth, I would go for something that looks like a box that's square and that has the colors of either browns or darker yellows or oranges. And you might go, well, I'm going to bring a tree in. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. That will just impacts this whole lung metal energy issue more. So something square, looks brown, bring that into your environment. And then what about for clothes? Because we wear clothes all the time. If you're going to wear something that is blue, because I wear a lot of blues. Obviously, I'm wearing blues right now. But one of the things that I'm doing is I'm making sure that I wear white with blue all the time. I do not wear blues with reds or with greens. I wear blues with white right now. And that's what I would recommend that you do, because white is about metal, blue is about water. And right now, if you're just wandering around with blues on, you are actually draining out the metal elements. So pull in some whites. If you're listening to this, then you've probably already realized that COVID has changed your immune system, and you're starting to realize that you have to branch out into all types of medicine in order to recover your health. I'm going to suggest to you, check out my members only area health hub, where I bridge the gap between science and holistic methods. I talk about what we're doing in clinic, what's working, and how you can use that, what you need to do to try and use those same principles. And what if you like to wear whites? Then I would recommend that you add in some tans, some khakis, some beiges to help tonify up that metal element. And that might help you on a daily basis. And you might want to try this out. Try wearing what I'm saying here, or try wearing green and blue, or red and white, or green and red. Try wearing those and see what happens during your day, versus if you wear these colors that will help support metal element. Okay, so that's some ideas from the energetic and the spiritual side of metal in the environment. Right now, it really is dysregulated. And I think about when COVID was just insane, 2020, 2021, 2022, those years, just the amount of chaos and discontent and anger and frustration and the breakdown of relationships that happened during that time, as we all became crazy, irrational people. I'm hoping that we can do some things to help keep our metal element, more healthy. And it's going to be tough, because each time we get a new variant of it, it comes and it just poops its way throughout our environment and impacts all of us in these subtle ways that, unless you were thinking about it, unless you decided to actually wonder if there could be an energetic component impacting your world right now, you wouldn't notice it. And I wouldn't notice it, except that I started noticing that everything just seemed so kinked up. So from June was okay. By the end of July, I was starting to notice that things were getting really kinked up. And then in August, I was like, it is crazy out here again. What is going on? I don't understand this. And I just happened to be studying my feng shui, and I was like, oh my gosh, from a feng shui perspective, our environment from a metal perspective is incredibly out of balance right now. And we're heading into the season of metal, when metal is supposed to be most active. It's really going to be unfortunate if it's going to be most inactive when it's sickest, because that's when it's going to try and pull all the energy it can, and there won't be any energy for it, which means that as we go into our next season where we try to rest and rejuvenate, that season's not going to have the energy it needs, which can mean that you can get more fatigued. You might find that you're getting sick easier. You might find that your ability to cope with situations goes down. Okay, so maybe try those things, see if it can help you rebuild your metal energy. Until next time, I will catch you on the other side.